Let's give this round of applause to what seems the return of that stupid Sony that was there, blinded by the success of PlayStation 2 and releasing the PlayStation 3 with just ridiculous mistakes. So the PlayStation 4 Pro has been announced, the so-called PlayStation 4 Neo that we've heard about. And the conference was abysmal. It was fucking insane, and it looks like even they don't understand what the hell is this console for and why they're releasing it. The only thing they probably wanted is to capitalize on the success of PlayStation 4, and I think that's gonna come to bite them in the ass for sure. Let's talk about it. It was fucking horrible. It was really, really, really bad. Worst conference that I've seen in years, honestly. Now they put themselves on a very bad path that they're gonna be creamed by Scorpio next year, and then they will be forced to announce the PlayStation 5 sooner or later. So a couple of my predictions were completely off. For example, the price and the name, of course, but everything else was about spot on, including the design that I told you. It was leaked ahead by the people who actually made a render from the guys from Foxconn that reported about the design of the console. I told you that the spec's gonna be underwhelming. It's that 4.2 teraflops Neo because it was too late. It's already in production. It's even worse that it's coming out this year alongside just a few days before the VR, even though they didn't mention anything about the VR that much, just saying that it might look better and shit like that. Okay, let's break it down. We're gonna talk about the positive things, and there's only one positive thing about this console. So first of all, it's the price. $400 US. I said it's gonna be $450, so 400. It's only 100 less than the PlayStation 4 Slim. I wish that would have been $250. And this is where shit just derails. It just derails. This is all the negative stuff. First of all, no 4K Blu-ray support, which is Sony's own format that they created and stood behind. The cheaper $299 version of Xbox One S has the 4K Blu-ray support. The original console doesn't have the 4K support. The Slim version doesn't have the 4K support, and not only in terms of Blu-ray, it doesn't even support it in terms of fucking Netflix and other content. So the only way to get 4K is so-called 4K, and they actually tricked you on this. It's not real 4K. People keep raving, oh, it's 4K, 4K. You being fucking blinded or stupid or something. I apologize for that word, but it's not 4K. The only thing it can do is 1440p at 60 frames per second, and that's gonna be upscaled to 4K. You're not adding more pixels. You're actually stretching the image out. You're actually gonna lose the quality on that. They keep talking about 4K. It's nowhere near being 4K, native 4K. You need 4 times the pixels from 1080p to 4K to make a native 4K or more. And yet this thing doesn't even double that. So the bad parts is that only PS4 Pro is gonna support Netflix and YouTube 4K. It will not support a fucking 4K Blu-ray, so that means if the games decide to get bigger, the only way you're gonna get them is to download them. Because there isn't any 4K Blu-ray support, so that means those 200 gigabytes per disc is non-existent. So Microsoft wins on that one. Second, the explanation that they give is like, what the fuck was this console about? Seriously, what was it about, guys? And girls, whoever's watching. What was it? It looks horrendous, to be honest. They opted out for this cheap made plastic, the same as they did with PS3 Slim and now the PS4 Slim. I absolutely don't like the design and don't like the quality. I know it's all been done to trim down the cost. Slightly bumped up the specs. The Polaris architecture, which is like, what is Polaris architecture? It's a GPU. The new GPU, the RX 280, which is, what is it like? It won't deliver anything close to 4K. It's around 4 teraflops of computational power on that device, and it's technically is a budget graphics card that is designed to compete with a NVIDIA's 1060 and 1070 at best, and even that can't be. It's like, oh my god. So no 4K Blu-ray support for us. Now concentrate on HDRs. Now look at that. There is far and few 4K displays out there because they're still very expensive, and even less of them actually support HDR. Because that is reserved for high-end 4K displays only. High-end 4K displays, which are not only the 4Ks, not that many people have it. Then the HDR headset, the TV set is even rarer. Is even rarer. So the only thing is going to be different is going to be all your games will look a bit richer and a bit crisper. If you own a 1080p display, it's still going to look a bit better and crisper. It's going to run on gameplay, like on higher frame rates, but does it make the games better? Fundamentally, no, it doesn't. Because we've been so focused on FPS and this and that. It's like nobody actually gives a shit if the game itself is good. And there weren't that many games announced in general. Yes, Sony's releasing the patches, but that means that all developers who need or want to support, Sony's forcing them to push patches through the QA, which is going to take time and money, which nobody actually wants to invest. How many of those people are actually going to have a 4K screen? And why do they need to push for that? It's crazy. I mean, what else was there? So we've done the 4K bit. The price is good, though I actually would have paid $450 for it and have a 4K Blu-ray support, because it is important not only for the video, but it's also very important for the games, to have games of a higher size so we can actually experience that higher fidelity. Other than that, it's no different. Like right now, I'm not gonna buy this stuff because it's junk. I don't need it. And what is Sony was thinking? Because they will see, as soon as the Microsoft releases Scorpio, they think that they're gonna be way ahead of them in terms of sales. Once the games start to come out on the Scorpio that will look fundamentally different and better than they do on the PlayStation 4 Pro, Sony will, and the developers will shift more to that in terms of the performance is going to be better, the higher fidelity is going to be better, it's going to be running pretty much in almost native 4K, and Microsoft still have time to tweak the design, maybe even make it more powerful. Sony will be like, oh shit, well, what are we going to do now? Now we have to think about PlayStation 5, so 2 years later down the line you're going to announce another PlayStation and ask people to spend even more money. It's insane. It's insane. I'm very disappointed. Super disappointed. Just as much I'm disappointed with the Apple's press conference today with the iPhone 7. Which is basically just a minor upgrade. Can't believe they still have the same screen that they do, like, God knows how long already. They still don't support 2K resolution. But enough about Apple. So the HDR, I mean, yeah, the HDR is going to be patched into any regular PlayStation 4, so it's not a big deal. It's not a big deal. But who's going to take actually feel the difference? Only people who own the screens that actually support HDR. Like right now, I'm not thinking about buying another 4K screen. I'm actually thinking about buying a 1080p screen, just a much bigger size than what I have right now. The moment I have a 42-inch, I'm thinking about going around 50-60 inch. I'm not actually looking at 4K right now. It's still too expensive, and the budget versions of the screens don't really have a good technical specifications for gaming. I'm upset. I'm really upset. This is a missed opportunity. Sony should have just let it go. Should have let it go, waited, and then at sometime next year during E3 or maybe PSX next year, they should have announced the PlayStation 5 and released it somewhere around 2018, and they would have got away with that. That would have been fine. But this is super underwhelming. They showed a bunch of games like, oh yeah, sorry we delayed all those games like Gran Turismo again. What else we have delayed? Horizon Zero Dawn, because this generation we are known for pretty much releasing 2 or 3 games on schedule, and everything else we are delaying. So instead of actually surprising you with some kind of a game release or something like that, we're just gonna show you Infamous First Light, because oh my god, the neon looks nice in HDR. And you can see that Andrew House was there on the stage. He was probably just as confused himself as with whatever Sony prepared for him to present as why. Like, they failed to convince people why this is better, because it's a slightly better specs, yet it's missing everything that the Xbox One S has. So for example, if I want to buy a 4K Blu-ray right now to watch movies, because I do buy them, my only choice, I mean, okay, I don't have a TV, right, but if I wanted to, but my only choice would be to buy an Xbox One S over this. It's cheaper and it looks better, to be honest. It also supports HDR. It upscales to 4K. So that's insane. That is insane. And I'm sure that Microsoft HQ right now is popping the champagnes and laughing very hard. And you can see the reaction on the internet is mostly negative. The only good thing about it is that it's $400. But then it comes to the point, they said, we don't need people to like, this is just a complementary thing. Like, you don't need to concentrate on it. We actually support the PlayStation 4 more. But then why the price difference is only $100? You should have done at least $150 to $200, so they would actually think that, yeah, there is some kind of a like difference between them. But right now, $100 difference is like, when you go to the shop, am I gonna buy this or should I buy this? Because it's only $100 and I'm getting slightly better specs. Like, I am shocked. And can you imagine all those moms and dads and average consumers who are gonna go and they're like, oh yeah, like, let's see, what am I doing? I'm watching Blu-ray like movies, right? And yeah, I have a 4K screen, and this probably will say somewhere in the box 4K support, but it doesn't say that it doesn't fucking support 4K Blu-rays. So people are screwed, and now they'll be forced to buy an X1S. I don't know, like, I am so underwhelmed. I'm so underwhelmed. Just to let you know that the actual, like, just scrap the bullshit that Sony is feeding you right now about 4K. They're just trying to capitalize on the popularity and all this stuff. If you wanted an upgraded system, if you wanted 4K, you go fucking play on the PC, because that's where it's at. Even the two SLI 980 GTXs from last generation, they can't run the 4K at 60 frames per second properly. It's just about. And then you have the 1080p, oh sorry, 1080p. Then you have the GTX 1080, the recent one, right? That can barely reach 4K at 60 frames. Most of the time of the games like Witcher dips to 47, 50 frames per second. So what are you, Sony, thinking? Instead, you're actually running on the same resolution pretty much as my phone right now runs on 440p, which is called so-called 2K. And then you upscaling it. What the Xbox One Scorpio will do with the specs, what I calculated is they're probably going to be just below 4K at 3000 something resolution, and upscaling that way they can achieve 60 frames per second. And that's going to be a big difference compared to this monstrosity that we have right now. So what I want to ask you, my fellow listeners or whoever is watching this, are you excited about this console? What do you think of Sony's announcement? Are you underwhelmed as much as I am? I thought it's going to be more. I thought it's going to be about PlayStation, PSN upgrades, name changes and stuff like that. Like, instead they just spent an hour that felt like forever talking about this nonsense of a console. And are you going to pick one up? If you do, what are you going to do with the old PlayStation 4? Because selling it now is just selling it for scrap pretty much, because nobody would want to buy an inferior console, especially when the Slim dropped in price. What are your plans in general? What are your thoughts on our upgrades? How do you think Sony handled that situation? Please subscribe in this channel below here somewhere in the corner. Give it a thumbs up if you like the videos. Comment it, share it whenever you want. Support me if you can. And thank you very much for watching this episode of Game Vortex. I apologize that I'm not doing it at home next to my computer. It's just because I have many things to do, and I just watched the press conference during my breakfast break. So that's it. Thank you very much, and I'll see you on the next episode where I give you an in-depth analysis about the PlayStation 4 Pro.